I speak to you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, here I am out of Africa. I did not die, so there will be no martyr statues for me. So a lot of you have questions about roosters. So we're going to tell a little bit of a story, and we will get to you, Keen, because you play a role in this story as well. Now, when I first got to Kasulu in western Tanzania, I was tired, but the bishop said to me, get cleaned up. In about an hour, we're going to have a feast for your arrival. And I said, well, thank you very much. I'm so looking forward to this feast. I was actually looking forward to falling asleep. But nonetheless, there I was, ready to get my feast face on. So I was there, and I noticed as I came in the compound where the bishop's house and where the cottage that I was staying at, and when I was walking from my cottage up to the feast house, I noticed something, and that was that there were goats and sheep all over the place. So I thought to myself, this is very curious. Why would the bishop at the bishop's compound have like a literal flock of goats and sheep? This is a little much. So I thought to myself, I'm going to ask him about these goats and these sheep and see what's up with these goats and these sheep. And so we're in the feast, and I'm sitting next to him, and we're kind of on this raised platform, and he's making bishop speeches about hospitality and other things, and then we're eating, and we have to continue to eat, and we continue to eat, and so there we are, and finally, after about an hour, I turn to the bishop, and I said, Bishop, I gotta ask you, why do you have a flock of goats and sheep? Why all of these livestock here? And he said to me, Bishop sat up and said, oh, Robert, be careful about what you say in the diocese of Western Tanganyika. I said, well, what do you mean? Well, on my first Sunday visiting a parish in the diocese of Western Tanzania, I went all the way up into the mountains in Matiazio, and up there, I came up to the church, and there were these great flocks of sheep and goat. And so I said to the elders of the church, wanting to make them feel as though I appreciated them, that they had wonderful flocks of sheep and goat. And so at the end of the service, hours and hours later of praise and dancing, they danced a goat up the aisle. And they gave me their best goat that they had to have. And they said, thank you, Bishop Sadak, for noticing our flocks. Here is an unblemished goat for you. So there I was, he said, with a goat of my own, having to put it in my Land Cruiser next to me. 5 hours down the hill with a goat. So, as is often the case, word gets around. So the next Sunday, Bishop Sadak says, I go to Bohigwe, up in the mountains, 3 hours up in the mountains. And at the end of service, they dance a goat and a sheep up the aisle. Now, I hadn't said a word about goats or sheep to them. But they said, Bishop Sadak, may you find our goats and sheep even better than the goats and sheep of Matiazzo. So he said, there was an arms race on of goats and sheep. And 2 months later, I had 75 goats and sheep. and here you have all my goats and sheep. So, he said, I brought all my priests together, and I gave them a pastoral admonition. Please do not have your churches give me any more goats or sheep. I have nowhere else to put them. So they all went back, and that was the end. So he now has 75 goats and sheep in the bishop's compound. Now, he said to me, be careful of what you say when you go to our parishes in Cthulhu, because you might wind up with a gift that you were not expecting. So, I forgot, conveniently, what the bishop had said. Be careful what you say when you go to a church in Cthulhu. So, I came 2 weeks later to Bethany Parish on the outskirts of Cthulhu. And when I got there, there were about 50 roosters all crowing very vigorously. Very, very vigorously. If you weren't already up somewhere on that side of Cthulhu before they started crowing, you were awake at this point in time. Now, this service began at 6:30 in the morning. And so here we are, and roosters are crowing, and I think to myself, oh, this is unlike Holy Cross in Tryon, North Carolina. Now, the church there, they're just building it, and it's a wooden fence, basically, in 4 sides, with a tin roof over it, and lots of chickens and roosters milling about, and sheep and goat, and all sorts of things. So I said to the elders, I said, thank you so much for having me today. It is so wonderful to see you, and it is amazing how vigorous your roosters are here at Bethany Church. So they nodded, and they said, Father Robert, thank you so much for being here. We are so honored to have you. So we're praising the Lord, and we're dancing, and we're singing, and we're doing all sorts of things. And 3 hours and 15 minutes later, towards the end of the service, they begin to dance a chicken up the aisle, a rooster. And they're dancing this rooster up the aisle, and they're dancing it, and everybody is cheering, and everybody's getting into the rooster dance. And they bring this rooster, and it's getting closer and closer to me, and I thought, dear Lord, what did I do? Now, most of you know I struggle with dogs. So, roosters are not exactly my forte, right? They are not my thing. And I'm thinking to myself, dear Lord, I hope they do not give me this rooster. And by the way, what am I going to do with the rooster anyways? So they dance it up, and they bow down, and they give me a rooster, and the music gets louder, and Father Ephraim, who's standing next to me, says, Robert, you must dance! 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 So there I am with the rooster, and I'm holding it as far away as possible from me, thinking, I am going to die of something like, some West Avian Nile disease or something, holding this rooster. And the rooster is just as afraid of me as I am of it. He's thinking, this guy's going to eat me. I've got to get out of here. And then after they give me the rooster, they come up the aisle with another gift. And another gift is a 10-foot tall pole of sugar cane. So now I'm dancing with a rooster in one hand and a big thing of sugar cane in the next. It couldn't get any more ridiculous than me dancing with fruits, vegetables, and animals. But there I am. Now, Paul Zimmerman said, there's an easy way to get the chicken through customs, and that is tell them it's a service rooster. But I said, no, we're leaving the rooster here. I gave it to my friend Emmanuel, and I said, Emmanuel, you got to make sure somebody who needs a rooster gets this rooster. And when I got back to his house, I gave his daughter the 10-foot pole of sugar cane. It was like giving a little kid a 10-foot long candy bar, right? It was the most amazing gift you could give somebody under 10 in Cthulhu. A big, long thing of sugar cane. Now, what does all of this have to do with 2 Corinthians, which we read today, and with the baptism today? Paul's letter to the Corinthians in the 8th chapter is a plea for the Corinthians to give to a church that needs something. A church that is struggling and dealing with poverty and dealing with hunger. And he says to them, look, I'm not going to command that you give others. I'm not going to command that you do that. You have an exuberant faith, an exuberant love, an exuberant eagerness to help others. And I want you, out of that exuberance of your faith and love and charity towards your brothers and sisters, I want you to recognize that in giving to others, your faith will be deepened and made more holy. And in fact, what he says is this, is that when Jesus came for us, he gave up his great wealth, his riches of being the Son of the Father in heaven, and made himself poor for us. Not because he had to, but because out of love, he gave himself for us. So what Paul is really saying here is this. I'm not just asking you to give something to somebody else. I'm asking you to conform yourself to Christ. If you truly want to become the body of Christ, as you are called to be, you will find that you will give out of a sense of love and grace and faith and hope and charity. Now, what Paul is saying also goes a little bit further. I'm not asking all of you to give in the same way. This isn't a flat tax. Everybody doesn't just give $100 here, or a rooster, or a goat, or a chicken, or a sheep. People give according to what they've been given already. Where is your abundance, Paul says? That's the real key to understanding what it means to give. If you understand where your abundance is, then you will be able to give out of your sense of faith. In other words, what Paul is saying to the Corinthians is that I'm not interested in telling you how much to give. I'm interested in you becoming like Jesus, and I am interested in you understanding where the abundance is that you have been given from God, so that you understand how you are to be transformed in the Lord. It is not enough to just give blithely. Now this key is where it hits you. And that is, we're not going to ask you to be an adult today. Okay? We're not going to ask you to write big checks like your dad does. You know? $1,000 here, $2,000 here. You know? We're not going to ask you today to be an adult. We're going to ask you to be the best king that God is calling king to be. Which means that we're going to ask you to be what a 5-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and a 7-year-old is called to be. We're asking you right now to give of yourself in the way that God is calling you. What's the abundance or all the good stuff that God has given to you? God says, I need you to give from there. Not out of guilt or shame, but out of love and grace and faith. Now these questions we're going to be asking you and your parents and your godparents are about you saying yes to Jesus today. Not because Paul or your parents or somebody else commands you to, but because God loves you. That's it. Now, be careful. Be careful what you ask for, whether it's in Kasuli or whether it's in Triumph. Because God has a claim on us, a claim of love, a claim of grace, a claim of transformation. Paul knew that. You all know that. And you, my friend, will know that. Today, we've come for his baptism, but we've also come because we ourselves have been called by the Lord, and today, we, with Keen and his family, say yes to the Lord.
Say yes with Keen on that path. Be careful. That path is full of roosters, sheep, and goat, and other things that are hidden out of love. Today we've come because we call in that love. Not just to be who we already are, but to allow ourselves to be transformed by God's grace. To give out of the abundance that God has given. Whether it be a few dollars, whether it be a gift, whether it be time. We've come to be transformed by love. That, my friend, is the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
One